a specific experience. Okay? So for example, on the computer that's generating this image, text goes one place. So in you, dialogue, verbiage goes one place. Pictures go another. There's sound, another. Voice, thought, undercurrent, another. And then you reassemble it to make a memory into a solid picture. And just like your computer, you save it differently. So it's changed now. The memory changes. Certain drugs will accelerate that process. So for example, with marijuana, one of the subtle dangers, to the degree that's a danger with marijuana, is that it creates what are called memory insertions. Okay? Where it interferes with the memory process so that you start feeling like events that didn't happen actually happened to you. Because they feel real. Now that's a subtle danger. That's not going to necessarily get you killed, but it starts affecting your mental health. Because you're remembering shit that didn't happen. Or you're rewriting shit that happened and you're editing it. And yeah, what's real now? Now that's subtle. That's a subtle danger. That's not necessarily going to, drive you to, hurt yourself, but it might. Okay, in terms of covering up your feelings, et cetera, and getting an accurate read on them. All right, so if we talk about dimensions of being in recovery, so on the physical level, and this is including the brain, physically, all right, so the idea about creating an experiential address every time you use, suppose you were using meth. So part of meth is a stimulant, you go up, and then you crash. Part of the crash is depression. You're creating a depression address, which you can experience later off of the meth because it's an address in memory that exists in your mind absent the drug. You get that? Now, where this comes up in recovery, all right, the reason the physical recovery is 1 to 3 years of non-use, no substitutes. Let's say the nastiest, why should I suppress myself here? We're 7 weeks into this. The nastiest shit like meth, okay? Brain scans are showing us that you need 3 years of continuous non-use to recover fully from the brain's point of view from meth. 3 years. And then you haven't recovered to before your use, you've recovered as if it was like a traumatic brain injury. So it's a new normal. Okay? Previously, before drugs, people had traumatic brain injuries like from auto accidents and war or something like that. With drugs, people got loaded, left their car through the windshield. You know what I'm saying there? Left their car through the windshield, spent a few months, weeks or a month in a coma, and then had to relearn to walk again and all that kind of stuff. So 75% of traumatic brain injuries were alcohol and drug related. Duh, right? And so what these folks found was, okay, not only do I have to relearn to walk and be potty trained and all that other kind of stuff, it takes 3 years to recover as much as I'm going to recover from that. And I'm never going to be like I was before the accident. So that's part of, there's a grieving process that goes along with that. Okay, so that's with traumatic brain injury where you experience like a coma and have to relearn to rewire your brain. Okay, meth does that too, but in a different way. There is injury to the brain, and it takes 3 years of continuous non-use to get to a new normal, which may or may not be the normal that you had before you started using. All right, so that's why that 1 to 3 years of non-use and no substitutes. Because some people will, okay, well, I'm not using meth, so I'll just smoke weed. I'll even have a medical card. Yeah, okay. It's not a vitamin. So yeah, you are using a less toxic drug, but you're still using a drug that's affecting your mental state. Yeah.
So if you have a minor relapse, does that bring you back to the beginning of starting like all over?
Define minor relapse.
Like a day of minor use, like not.
So if well, again, so are we talking, say, meth?
Could be meth. I'm just talking more like alcohol, but meth.
Yes and no. Now, alcohol this is not an excuse for you to drink more. Alcohol, because it's an inverted sugar, is relatively clean drug, meaning it does its damage while it's in the body, but the body completely breaks it down and it's gone. Meth and other things stay longer in the body, so around to do more damage. So minor relapse, if you mean like a day of binge drinking after a period of time of not using, that's not as bad as using meth. It's not like resetting the clock, but yeah, it does some damage. But if you follow it up with a period of non-use, then, you know, it's relatively better. So again, what I mean by non-substitutes is, again, people will substitute less immediately toxic drug for a toxic one. Yeah, so wow, smoking weed is better than using, smoking meth. Definitely. But it's not an improvement because you're still developing tolerance for it. And, again, the damage, to the degree that there is damage, is subtler. So, physical recovery. Physical, 1 to 3 years of non-use, no substitutes. Emotional. So as soon as chemical stabilization begins, looking at what happened to you and what damage it did emotionally. Where and how much does it hurt? What did you do to numb yourself? So if you remember my algebraic equation for, looking at pain, loss, and fear, depression, anger, serenity. Go to the center of the greatest pain, the thing that hurts most, or the thing that you're most willing to look at. So there is physical recovery, and the emotional recovery can take longer, depending on your willingness to go there or your willingness to be led there.
I have a question.
Yes?
So I've always heard this thing that whenever you started using, you're stuck at that age, and that's how you respond to stuff. Do you feel that's true?
That's a working meme theory within the treatment field. The idea is that there is an emotional and developmental delay, that especially with certain drugs that are more intense from the brain's point of view, so that, people stop developing at a certain point. Now, it doesn't mean that they totally stop developing. They might learn new skills or whatever, but this is why we'll often find people who are emotionally 10-year-olds at 40, especially if they're still using. Like, I know plenty of people who, having been one of them, I use marijuana to self-medicate my rage. And I was political, so there was lots to be enraged about in, the 60s and 70s. Well, I'm still enraged, but I use my rage at, basically things that make people weak. So it comes out like, Harris has an attitude. Yeah, I do. But I'm noticing people that have medical marijuana cards that are like smoking 10 joints a day on top of, however many bars of Xanax, and they still, it's not like, this one classic person, without mentioning his name, you don't have to, but, there are some people that shoot themselves in the foot with their mouth. This guy is like wearing a suicide vest and he's doing the clicker, like constantly. I'm like, okay, you're smoking and you're doing, a couple of bars of Xanax a day. How's that working for you with your anger? Doesn't seem to be working so good. What, so smoke more bud? No. How about looking at what wounded you in the first place, which he ain't willing to go there. Okay. Right. You want to work in human services? You can't do that and piss people off. Sorry. You actually have to be human with them. Get your anger in control. All right? What do you do to numb yourself? Mental. What are the memes, patterns, programs, if you will, that you ran while you're addicted, that run you, and they run you as long as you're not aware of them? What do you need to let go of or change or learn accurately, objectively? How do you feel about it? How does it feel to move towards health? Now, all these different questions within this framework, basically coming out of, I've synthesized several different frameworks within this, and I'll expand upon some of them, because you're civilians. If you want to do this further, we can basically talk about it within the treatment context if you go on to do that class. But within a civilian context, and I'll explain what a meme is if I haven't done that yet here, have I? No. Okay, we are going to. Okay, cool, thanks. All right, what are the memes, programs, patterns that you ran, that run you? What do you need to let go of or change or learn accurately? So learn accurately is, for example, when we talk about the whole maladaptive behavior, if you remember that on the midterm, the idea is you don't improperly learn healthy behaviors in this society. You were never taught them. So if you were never taught them, you can't improperly learn them. All right? Because the conversation, particularly on alcohol and other drugs, is basically being run by the drug sellers. So then it's about brand loyalty, not whether, not using is never a conversation. Okay? That's the drug dealer's conversation. You're going to use, and I want you to continue using this. Not picking on you, Christy, but this happens to be a prop.
My team?
Yeah. So I don't like these people. Arizona, I'm not saying you don't have to drink them, okay? These people, this corporation, okay, marketed Crazy Horse beer. Okay? Crazy Horse beer. Now, basically, Crazy Horse among the Lakota is like, he is a great spiritual leader and war chief. So this would be like, if we flip the script, it would be like a Native American brewery coming up with a Jesus Christ beer. Way not cool. Okay? But they did it and they kept marketing it, and no, we ain't going for that. So they dropped it. All right? And went on to something else.
I know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can keep drinking it if you want. I don't. Because
Still better than Mountain Dew, right?
I guess, fractionally, but So, physical, emotional, mental. What do you do? So, the reason I brought that up is like, okay, if these people are willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? What are you taking in by participating with that? What are you not necessarily examining? It's the level of awareness. So, for example, brand loyalty. How is brand loyalty built? You know, what are the products that you use over and over and over, and your buying choices have an effect beyond just you? What is that? And people may not be aware of that until, you know, they get into some form of recovery. So, spiritual. Where are you connected, and how do you become more connected? How deep can you go, or how high, or whatever spatial metaphor you want to use? But look at where are you connected, and how do you become more connected? How deep can you go?
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm thinking that pretty much you can look at any product that's on the market nowadays and
Yeah.
see an objectionable process or
Yes.
or however, or an objectionable way that they market
Yes.
or process
Yes.
or whatever
Yes.
their products.
Right.
And so how do you pick and choose, you know, what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, and how do you change it if you find it unacceptable?
You try and do the least amount of harm that you can. First to yourself, then to the world. That's about all you can do. To become aware of it. Because awareness, you know, like, you know, you're in prison, you don't have a choice about them using biodegradable products, right? You're at a certain socioeconomic status. I mean, you might not be able to buy organic or, you know, biodegradable or whatever. You make choices and try and improve as much as you can. Like, there used to be a part of the social recon that I kind of edited out, and it was, okay, look at where your clothes are made. What are the conditions in the places that your clothes are made? Like, oh, well, where is the Dominican Republic? Where is Haiti? Where is Jamaica? Where is, you know, not Saipan, but, you know, Vietnam or whatever? What are the conditions? Yeah, okay, I make sure that, you know, I know these Nikes, even though I got them in the Nike store outside of, in Woodburn, you know, those shops, right? So I know that, okay, this is made in Vietnam, and, you know, I got it for like, they were having a sale, so it cost me $10, which means that Nike probably is still making money from them, because, right, cost probably $1 or $2 to make, and they paid the people that made them 50 cents for a day, which might be a good wage for them. I don't like that. But I make sure that I wear these shoes out for 3 years, right? Rather than get new ones every year. You know, a lot of people have feelings about Nike, right? I do too. But, you know, they actually did some gang-related stuff where they're getting people into sports rather than gangs. I have a line of clothing that is basically N7. It's for getting Native Americans to move more. So, okay, I can get behind that. Phil Knight's a billionaire, got problems with Nike's labor practices, but I can understand, okay, you take the good with the bad, right? That's one example, right? Try and do as little harm as you can as you become aware of it. Because you could become fanatical, right?
Yeah.
You know, my kids are fanatical. You need to get rid of this zest. Don't use Clorox. It has all these chemicals that get into the wastewater. Well, I'm not drinking the water. Salem is. Well, right. Yeah, we're getting water from the Mackenzie here, but Salem is drinking our poop, cleaned up,